It's a mazel tov.
We gratefully acknowledge sponsors.
Teddy.
Year of Learning, Gail and
Mazel
Leslie
tov.
Kaplan, in memory of their parents, Moshe Shprinzer, Bachayosef Chaim Bakavim, Tanan Ben Moshe Eliezer B'Tana, Pesha Bas Shmuel Yitzchak Alevi B'Tzvara, and Iser Ben Yoel Moshe HaKohen B'Tana. Rexford Friends of Gladys Sherman Gutta Bas Meir, Michael Klein and Friends of Judah Klein, Yehuda Tzvi Ben Tayim, Marcia Brunner in memory of her husband, Raphael Ben Shmuel, Friends and family of Arthur Richholtz, Mordechai Yudel Ben Baruch Cohen, Friends and family of Siggy Bessler, Shalom Trag Dov, Friends of Marvin Weinstein, Mordechai Yoizer Ben Israel Aaron, Sarah Alfred in memory of her husband, Rav Tzvi Lipa Ben Hillel, Rexford Friends of Maddie Friedman, Mandel, Miriam Bas Kalman Ruvain, Bella and David Adler in memory of her father, Eliyahu Ben Yosef Cohen, Friends of Honey Chaffetz, Chana Shoshana Bas Yuzov, Friends of Jack Prince, Yaakov Yitzchak Ben Shmuel Dov, Friends of Sandy Davidoff, Shulamis Bes Chaim Eliyahu, Friends of Judy, Judith Liba Bat, Friends of Dr. Annette Safransky, Nana Bas Ephraim Fisher. Month of Learning, Jill and Perry Meltzer, and memory of her mother, Bila Bas Abraham, and his father, David Ben Tishel Halayzi. Perez in memory of his wife, Saratova Bas Yisrael Dov. Jack Gilman in memory of his mother, Elka Bas Yeshayahu. A week of learning, Judith and Michael Beretsky in memory of her sister, Gutta Esther Bas Yaakov Yitzchak. Today is the 6th, there is no one. Marty, we dedicate learning today to an Elias Neshama for Neshama should have an Aliyah. All the Neshamas should have Aliyahs, all the Krank and Rafias, and all the Yidden Yeshiyas.
Sounds good, man.
Okay, we're at the very bottom of Mem Beis Amud Beis. Last line. Now we have to. There's a principle that we have that in testimony that when a person is nogea do so, we think the person is biased or has personal gain in testimony. The person not to testify. It's a machlokus in the Rishon. It's machlokus really. What's the reasoning behind it? One reason is because he's like a relative. We know that you can't testify. Relatives can't testify about each other. So one is that in the same way, he simply sent every person is a korban to. Everybody's their own relative. Everybody's their own relative. So one word is adam korban to, that every person is his own relative, and therefore, if a person has some personal interest in the case, so they can't testify. The second way is simply like you would have thought that the person is going to lie because they have so that's an argument. What's the reasoning? But either way, we know that when a person has in personal interest in the case, they can't testify. So we have something surprising because we learned earlier. Shmuel told us he told us that two people are partners in a piece of land. So let's say somebody claims that the property belongs to somebody else, and he can come and defend his partner, and he and another witness can come and testify that his partner is okay, and that he's allowed to be on the land. So the thing is, look, when he testifies about the other person, he's testifying about himself also. So it's even worse. I know Gemei do something. Says, listen, he says the person is biased in their testimony. The truth is what he's actually the guy himself is testifying about himself, but you can't. But the point is that he can't do it. So the Gemara says, no, I'm going to explain to you the case where the guy can be testifying about his partner's right to the land, yet he is not in danger of personally benefiting, and therefore he can accept his testimony. Why? Because he wrote like this. He wrote the following. He said, "Din v'dvarim ainli al sadazur." I have no I have no words, no rights to this, they have no recourse vis-a-vis this property. Else I'm giving it away to you completely. It's completely yours. So therefore, what? So since he no longer owns the property, so he has no benefit from his own testimony that he's going to say that the property belongs to him or to them. I said, so what? Even if a person wrote such a thing, we learn that that's not sufficient. When you write, I have no rights to this land, it's nothing because it's still, since you didn't, there's an argument why, but what way is it saying that since he doesn't say, listen, since he didn't say, I'm giving it to you, so he still owns it. He says, what kind of didn't we learn? If a person says to his friend, I have no rights to this land, no recourse. I'm not involved in it. My hands are removed from it. All those things. And Lo Amar Klum, he said nothing. It means nothing. He still didn't give it away. I says, you're right. You're right. It's where he said it. What? But he made an actual act of acquisition. In other words, he received, let's say, a scarf from the other guy, and he transferred the property to his partner. So when he testifies now, everything's completely his partner's, and he's not testifying about anything he has to do with himself. And I says, so what? Even if they made a kinyan, what's the value of that? It doesn't change the fact. Even if he doesn't own the property anymore, he still has what to gain personally. Why? Let's say he gave all the property to his partner. Now his partner is being challenged by a previous owner. The guy says, look, that property belongs to me. Some Chaim Yaakov comes from out of nowhere. He says, that property belongs to me. Even though this guy, the partner who dropped all ownership in the partnership, comes and testifies with another witness that it belongs to them, it doesn't belong, it doesn't belong to this guy, but he still has what to benefit. And why is that? Because before he gave the land over to his friend, let's say he took a loan. And now what's going to happen is, so you know that he took a loan, let's say with the paper, okay, which means what? That the person who lent him the money has a right to collect from any property that he owned and even sold, that he owned and even sold once the loan was taken. So even though now he's not going to gain the property, but he can gain this by defending his partner against the person who says he owns the property and placing the partner in his friend's hands, means that his transfer of the property to his partner was legal, which means that the person who has a claim against him for a debt is allowed to claim it from his the property to his partner. So he has a personal gain his personal gain that his creditor will have a place to collect from. And people don't want to be called a Russia, saying that he doesn't pay his debt. He's happy that the guy can get it, and you'll see why. And even if it's not going to protect him monetarily, I'll explain what I mean. He says, so what? He's still benefiting that he's placing that land by defending the ownership of his partner, which means he defended his own ownership. He ends up giving his creditor from before he sold the land recourse to the land. The Amar Rabbi Bashmul Mishmei Dishmul, because we learned the following: let's say a guy sold the field to his friend. Even forget about if he sold it with responsibility. Certainly, he's defending himself. If he defends the property into the hand of his friend, he's gonna stop any challenger from getting it. Otherwise the person he sold is gonna have recourse. But even if he sold it without any responsibility, so the person he sold it to can't come back to him, he still can't testify about that piece of land. A made the love, he still can't testify, even when the guy had no recourse. The mere benefit of the fact that even though he never would have had to pay anyway. Even if the challenger would have gotten the piece of land, the person he sold it to couldn't have come back to him. So he's not gaining. But he's not gaining by keeping it in his hand. Yet he's gaining in this way. He's gaining because at least any creditor who he owed money to before he sold the land to the person that's defending it will have recourse to that land. That's considered a benefit that the person he's collecting from, the person that he owes it to, will have a place to collect from. He won't be called a Russia for not paying. Says the don't worry. It's still the case of Shmuel is a case where he can testify and he's not considered personally liable to benefit. What is the case? The Kabbalah is here and now. It's where he accepts the responsibility for the piece of land. Now, what do you mean? What do you mean that what? That if the person that if the piece of land that he sold to his partner or gave to his partner is going to be challenged by a foreigner, that the person will be able to come back to Machrais the man. What responsibility did he accept? Machrais the Alma. Maybe you say what? That he accepted responsibility that if anybody in the world comes and says that land is mine and takes it away from his partner, he'll have partner have recourse to him. Kolsha came to Nichale. That's not helping. That's even more reason why he can't testify. He's going to, because what? Because by knocking off the challenger, he is stopping the partner from coming back to him and claiming money against the land. Ella, no one. He accepts responsibility only for what? He accepts responsibility that if his creditor will come and demand and claw back the land from the partner because he says I had a lien on that land for a loan that your partner took from me before he gave you the land or sold you the land. Is in that case, so we said therefore he's gonna he's okay. He has to pay him the money. But the point is like this: since he's not responsible, you have to think about it. It's a little bit complicated. He's not responsible for a challenger. He said, "Listen, if you get challenged, I'm not paying." Right? That he's not paying. He's only responsible for what if the guy came to collect. But you have to realize what's happening now. No, let's say so. So did we say before? But isn't he happy? Even if he keeps the land in the guy's possession, he's happy that the creditor has a place to collect from. But you have to realize something. You're right. The guy's going to come back to him, but it's not. It doesn't make a difference because he's not going to gain. Here, if the piece of land stays in his partner's possession and the creditor collects it, what's going to happen next? The guy's going to come back to him to get the money.
He's going to have.
So he's going to have to pay anyway. So and if he doesn't have money, one way or another, he's going to be a bad guy for not paying his debts. Either he didn't pay his debt to the original creditor, he didn't pay his debt to the partner. So therefore, he has nothing to gain. Okay, Gore says, okay, 1 second. Let me ask you a question. But is it really true? He says that when a person, even when he made a kinyan, he says, I don't own it, and I'm making a kinyan, I'm giving it to you. Is that enough distance that he can testify about the piece of land? I have a hard Tanya, but then we learn. I'll show you. I'm going to show you that it's not true, that it doesn't work. You can't simply remove yourself and say that you're a disinterested party. Tanya, didn't we learn? Let's say in a certain town they stole the sefer. Somebody stole the sefer. They had one sefer Torah in the town. Somebody stole it. Ain't done in, but so let's say they found a guy. They think that this guy's a thief. They're gonna testify that he stole it or this is the sefer Torah. Ain't done in, but then the judges in that town cannot judge the case. They may be in raya, okay. I mean, here, and nobody can be a witness against the thief or about the sefer Torah from the people in that city. Why is that? Because since they all want their sefer Torah back, they're all interested parties. They're not disinterested. They can't judge the case, and they can't testify about the case. He says, and if it were really true that a guy can just write, listen, I have nothing to do, and I'm selling the stuff back. Here, why don't you have two members of the town can become judges, or three, however you want to look at it. What they do is they divest themselves of their rights to the Sefer Torah. Let them say, I have nothing to do with the Sefer Torah. I divest my rights to the Sefer Torah and I give it away. Whatever it is, I give it back. Okay, and then they'll be able to judge the case and be able to testify in the case. So you see that separating yourself. It doesn't work. Why? Because we don't trust it. Even though they legally did the job, we think that's a trick. They're just doing it to be able to testify. In 1 second, they're going to be back in again. They're going to go back and join the partnership again. It's not a serious divestment. They're not really divesting themselves of the partnership of the whole town. Whereas no, it's not true. People can definitely, that we trust people. A person can divest themselves and make a kinyan, and they're out. But over there, it's different. Shani Sefer Torah. Why? The Shmiya car over there, since nobody can divest themselves, everybody's obligated. They have to hear the Sefer Torah. And therefore, what? Okay, and therefore, unless they leave town, they have to be in the partnership. They can't get out of the partnership.
Even if they divest themselves,
it's nothing. They can't get out. They can't get out. They have to. They can't leave the partnership unless they move. So therefore, you're right. In theory, you can, but they can't do it because they have to hear the Sefer Torah. Toshma, okay, come, let me ask you Kash again. I want to show you. I'll bring you another proof that divestment, okay, we don't trust this divestment for the sake of testimony because we're afraid it's a fake. Okay, why? Didn't we learn if a guy was, when people are dying, we're very lenient, and just if they just tell us do this, do that, we automatically transfer the funds. Guy's dying, we do what they tell us. Even though without kinyanim and all these things. So a guy says, he says, give $100 to the people of my town. Ain't done it. Okay, we don't. Okay, but then I'll see the judges in that town. Let's say the kids come to fight. They say we don't want you to give our father's money away to the town. You can't judge the case. But honestly, the judges in that town can't judge the case. They may be in raya, and no witnesses could come and testify about the case beyond social people in that city. Why? Because they're all interested parties. Why? If according to what you told me now to defend Shmuel, you told me that a person can divest as long as they do it together with what? With a formal act of transition, of a kinyan. Okay, listicle beitrin of shaladani. Again, let two of them and three of them let them divest themselves, okay, and judge the case, etc. But says no, hachanami b'sefer Torah. Also, in that case, if it had just really truly been $100, they could have done it. But even though it said 100, it really meant what? They really want. He was doing it for a sefer Torah. And again, you cannot divest your rights in the sefer Torah. You have to hear it unless you leave town. Toshma again. So again, I'm going to ask you, but again, try and show you that we don't accept divestment for the sake of testimony and judging testimony because we're face to face. Didn't we learn? A guy says give 100 to the poor of the city. That's clear as a bell. Okay, it's not for sefer Torah. It says give money to the poor people of the city. And done in a year. The judges of that city can't judge the case. They may be right, and nobody from the city can testify about it. Anybody from there? Why? Because they're interested parties. Now, what do you mean? But Tisbra, what do you mean? And he understand what he's saying. He says, understand. You want to tell me what? Because poor people are going to get the money. The judges are disqualified. The judges are not usually poor people. The judges usually have money. We try to make sure they have money. You have to read it like this. Ain't done in here. Any poor judges of that city can't judge the case. They may here, and any poor people in the city can't act as witnesses. Even if they're poor, why not? According to you, divestment and transfer with a Kenyan works. Let them divest. At least let two of them divest themselves and judge. Remember, I told you, even though you usually need three for a base, then two judges who judge are a base. Then it's just called a chutzpah. You understand? It's not nice. You understand? But it is a judgment. That's why or you can be 2 and 3 respectively. Okay, I should have said that before. No, even though you're right. Don't worry. Even here, you're right. Really, divestment works with a Kenyan. And here, even though it said to the poor, okay, it really meant what? It was still talking about a sefer Torah. What do you mean? How can sefer Torah do with poor people? Why do you say to the poor? It means to say what? The call it a sefer Torah name. Anybody who doesn't have a sefer Torah is poor. You don't have a sefer Torah, that's a poor place. You have to have a sefer Torah. So really, it was metaphoric. Yes, it was metaphoric. Spiritually poor. Or I could still defend it. I could tell you what. No, I could still defend another way. When it said what, it will aniyamamish. It really was to the poor of the city, and it really meant that. And really, what divestment works. I said, why couldn't they divest here? But neither I'll tell you why. Because it was not. It was like this. It's for the people that it's for the poor that the people of the city are obligated to pay for. So now what everybody, even though the money was for the poor of the city, it's not only the poor of the city who are interested parties, everybody's an interested party. Why? Because they all got to pay for the poor people. So if there's more money to pay for the poor, they benefit, right? So everybody's interested. So what? Either Kitzlu, if the facts are that they take a set amount from everybody in the town, it's easy. Then of course they can easily divest. Let two of them just let them pay off their part, okay, to pay in, and they're obviously not interested anymore. No, it's a case where it's not a set part. As they need it, everybody has to pay. So therefore what? So therefore everybody in the town is an interested party. Really, divestment works, okay? Really, divestment works, but it doesn't work here. Okay, Ibai saying more alternatively, Lolam de Kitzlahu. Okay, Lolam de Kitzlahu. Really, what even here, there's a set amount, but it doesn't make a difference. With Nichalu, they're still going to be happy. They came in the Rabach. As long as there's more money, they're happy. There's two possibilities. Let's say everybody has to pay. Every person pays usually according to what happened. But let's say everybody has to pay $50. If you pay $50, if there's more money in the kitty, maybe they'll give him a refund of $5. Or if there's more money in the kitty next year, he'll pay less. Next year, he'll pay less. So whatever. So all interested parties. But the main point is what? We didn't find a kasha to our defense of Shmuel. We said in the end that the truth is really a person is a disinterested party because he divests to get together with a Kenyan, and we don't suspect that when a person divests in order to be involved in the court case that it's a fake divestment. We accept it as a true divestment. Okay. Furthermore, okay, another thing that Shmuel told us, the Nasin Shomer Sachazalza. He said, interesting. The two people are partners in a microwave, So if it gets stolen, so whoever was watching is obligated to reimburse what, because we know, and even though they're paid watchmen, he watches one time and he watches one time. So yeah, but they're paid watchmen.
That's why
And
they're
and paid watchmen have to, because they're paid watchmen, so you have to pay, a paid watchman, as opposed to an unpaid watchman has to pay for theft. He was responsible for theft. Says the Gemara, 1 second. But we have another rule. You remember we learned, and we extend it. We'll see in a second. We learned from the classical cases, what if a person borrows something from somebody, he's responsible for everything, even for accidents. But we have a rule from the way the psukim were written. We understand that if the owner is in his employ when he takes over the watchmanship, he's not responsible. He becomes not responsible. We learn by the way the pasuk written, because of a vav, that also the same rule applies also by paid watchmen. So if the owner of the object is in the employ of the paid watchman, when the paid watchman starts to watch, so also the paid watchman is not responsible. So we have a problem over here. Why are each of these guys, since what they're going to trade off, Shmir Babalim? Everybody's watching here. If I have an object, okay, I watch the object, you watch the object. We're all each other's employee. Because since, by definition, since we're partners in the object, we're all watching it. So when I'm watching it, you're my employee. When you're watching, I'm in your employee. What's the difference? Okay, everybody's watching. Okay, everybody's guarding it. Papa, I'll tell you why. No, it's a case where they trade off. He says, I'll watch today, you watch tomorrow. And since when he's watching today, the other guy's not supposed to watch, so therefore he's not in his employ when he takes the watchmanship. So therefore what? Because he says, I'll watch today, you watch tomorrow, they're working for each other. They are paid watchmen. Because I'm going to guard for you, you're going to guard for me. So each one's guarding is paid to the other guy for guarding for him. Nevertheless, they're not in each other's employ, because since they're watching, is not simultaneous. It alternates. So therefore, what? So that nobody's in the other guy's employ when he becomes obligated to watch. Tana Rabbanan, we learned, or at least originally, Tana Rabbanan, we learned in a brayso, Machar bias bias. If a guy sold his friend a house, he sold his friend a field. A me'ilo allowed. He's not allowed to testify on that person's behalf. Let's say they protect him against somebody who claims that it was his. Why? Because since he has written this, since it's a case where he took responsibility to reimburse him if somebody, a prior owner, whatever it is, takes it. So therefore he is an interested party. Machalo paro, machalo talis. But if he sold him a cow or sold him a garment, he's allowed to testify with, because those things by which we understand, he has no responsibility. If they get ripped away by a prior owner, he's not responsible to repay the guy. So he's not an interested party. But I said, 1 second, it doesn't make any sense. What was the reason why he should testify or not? The question is whether he gave a guarantee or not. Well, listen, then the real rule shouldn't be whether it's a house or a cow. It should be, did he give a guarantee or didn't he give a guarantee? It doesn't make any sense. Maishna ratio, Maishna sefer. What's the difference between the first part and the end? Okay, it has nothing to do with house or cow. Either he gave response, he took guarantee, or he didn't give a guarantee. Rav Sheshes says, no, I'll tell you why. He says, here's the case. Ratio Beruvin Shagod. It's a very interesting case. Beruvin Shagozal Sodom Shimon Umachla Levi Yotu Kamara. Reuven stole a field from Shimon. Okay, and stole a field from Shimon. And that Reuben, who was the thief, sold it to Levi. And now Yehuda, a completely fourth guy, Kamara, comes and claims that he's owning the field. Not even the guy who Reuben stole, not even Shimon who Reuben stole it from, was the owner. Now, so you would think what? So he wants you to know that when there was a sale, okay, he can't testify. What are talking about? The Lolizol Shimon, who was the one who Reuben stole from, cannot go and testify on the behalf of Levi to say, listen, he says Levi is now in possession, even though what Shimon says, this is my field. He wants to testify that it doesn't belong to Yehuda. It doesn't belong to Yehuda, who is claiming that it's his. He wants to defend the buyer of the field that was stolen from him, from the guy who claims it was his. Now, why can't he testify? What do you mean? The nicha, why can't he do it? The nichale the hadro, because he has a personal interest in it staying in the hands of Levi. Why? Because he has an easier time, to get out of the hands of Levi by proving that Reuben stole it from him and sold it to Levi. So that's enough of an interest. So that's really what it's talking about. It's a unique case. However we read it, but it's not the simple case. You're right. It's a special case where it's coming back to him. He's going to benefit. I was going to say, what are you talking about? The cave of the Isidle, the Levi who. Since I understand what are you talking about? What do you mean he's going to put it into the hands of Levi because he's going to have an easier time getting it from Levi? If he testifies that it belongs to Levi, he can never get it back. He confessed that it's not his. Once he testifies that it belongs to Levi and knocks out Yehuda, how would he going to have an easy time getting it away? How's he going to contradict himself? Hodos Baldin the admission of any defendant, is like 100 witnesses. He admitted that it belongs to him. Yeah.
Maybe he has another piece of paper.
Oh, good. Okay, so stay tuned. It's going to be similar to what you said.
Oh,
Okay, but look, wait. Okay, one second. Question is how he's going to contradict himself. The answer is what he says. No, he says, listen, you're making a mistake. You thought that when he knocks off Yehuda, the challenger, he's going to prove that it's Levi's and not Yehuda's. No, he doesn't do that. What he does is he proves that Yehuda's proof is not a good proof. Here, Yehuda has a paper. He shows it's false. Yehuda has witnesses. He shows they're false. That's what he did was, he says, the Amar Yadan and Hayar the Lav Yehudi. He didn't say what. He didn't come and testify that it belongs to Levi. Otherwise, you're right. I'll never get away from him. He testifies that it's not. He says, I know that it's not Yehuda's. He's a liar. He's a liar. But he never proved that it belonged to Levi. Says 1 second. So what? Okay, good point. So now what? You're right. So he legally put it into the hands of Levi, but never said it was Levi. But still, understand. But understand what you're doing. Why is he bothering to do such a roundabout thing? If he already has proof that it doesn't belong to Levi, i.e. that it's his, why is he going to go this roundabout thing by way of Alaska and knock out Yehuda's proof and then first go to court against Levi? However, he was going to show that it's not Levi's and it's his. Let him show that it's not Yehuda's and it's his, and goodbye, Charlie. About who's the kametik with the same merit, and he's going to take it away. Me Levi, lift Yehuda, I'm going to away from Yehuda. The answer is no. He says, I'll tell you why. He doesn't want to do it, because it's a hard job. Why? The Omar Hasheni Noachli, he says, this second guy, Levi, is an easy guy. I can take him to court. Marisha and Yehuda, he says, to go against him, Koshe Mena, he's a violent man. And I'm going to have a hard time getting with him in court. So he has an interest, you understand, in going to court against Levi, who's a more reasonable or upstanding opponent than Yehuda. That's one answer. Same alternative, like it's like to go on this like Sadi Lamar. Here's what's happening. He says Shimon has witnesses that it belongs to him. Bisley Sadi Lamar, Yehuda has witnesses that belongs to him. Well, that's a crash up. That's not going to be good. Because in such a case, when two witnesses say it's Yehuda's and two witnesses say it's Shimon's, you know what happens? He's stuck. There's the rule's going to be two witnesses against two witnesses. They're going to leave it in the hands of a Levi. He shot himself in the foot. It's not going to help him if he brings his two witnesses. If he brings his two witnesses against Levi, Levi has no witnesses. He's going to get the land away from Levi. So he'd rather what? Even though he has witnesses that it's his, he doesn't want to bring witnesses that it's his against Yehuda, because Yehuda has witnesses that it's his. He's going to shoot himself in the foot. So he'd rather what? He'd rather show that it's not Yehuda's, that it's really not Yehuda's. And then uses witnesses to get it away from Levi. And that's the case that we said. Okay. That's also a daf.
Okay.
It's so beautiful. I'll discuss it.
Really mine.
I'll discuss it. I want you to know, I read a book. Maybe the guy who wrote it wasn't the greatest guy, but he said something beautiful. He says, like in the year 18 something, whatever it was, 17 something, pardon me, 17 something, 17,